development is key for any country if it wants to progress, wants to move forward. I think there is no new knowledge that we need to get or we need to realize. All of the things are very well known to us. For me, a person like me, who started his political career very early on with Vision 2010 for Pakistan, which primarily focused on building a knowledge economy, and it talked of focusing on human resource development, saw that vision being thrown out of window when martial law government took over. So the political events overtook, and all the human resource development and the development paradigm that we were trying to change was abandoned. Then in 2013, again, when I was given the choice that which portfolio I want to take, I told my Prime Minister that I have unfinished agenda and I want to go back to the planning drawing board and we want to start with Vision 2025 so that we can be among the top 25 economies by 2025. And ladies and gentlemen, you all know that in 2013 we were suffering from multiple crises. There was a crisis of security in the country, which was very adversely impacting all human resource development programs. There was serious energy crisis. For 16 to 18 hours, we did not have electricity in this country. So all the schools and colleges and universities and educational programs were very adversely affected. And then there was a serious economic crisis. There was inflation, double-digit inflation, there was slowdown, and there was no one willing to come to Pakistan. We took up that challenge. And by 2017, PricewaterhouseCoopers forecasted that if Pakistan continues on this trajectory, by 2030, it will be in the top 20 economies of the world. We were very relieved that we are on track, and that means that, by 2025, surely we can achieve our target of being in the top 25 economies. But once again, political changes overtook our ambition and our effort. And beyond 2018, Vision 2025 was scrapped. Political changes do happen in countries, but political change should not mean a U-turn on all the national programs. So every national program that was started under Vision 2025 was abandoned. And for 4 years, the country did not have any short, medium or long-term plan or vision where we want to go. In 2013, our development budget was 300 billion rupees. By 2018, it had increased to 1,000 billion rupees, 1 trillion rupees. 4 years later, when I returned to this ministry, the development budget had been reduced to 550 billion rupees. And that too, if you discount for inflation, in terms of 2018, it would be 300 and 350 billion rupees. This year, when we were making our development budget, there were demands of about 1,900 billion rupees, and we had an envelope of 727 billion rupees. And we were sitting for 15 days late night trying to see that how best we can distribute that 727 among the demands for 1,900 billion rupees. Now this is the reality. If we have to focus on human resource development, we have to have resources. The economy has to grow. The development budget has to be there. Otherwise, we always say in management that when you talk of a strategic change, it actually means that how you reallocate your resources. If you have nothing to allocate, if any slogan or any program is only confined to seminars and speeches, it means nothing. It's only a deception or an illusion in which we live. So the fundamental question, I think, before us, I don't want to really dwell before you that how and why we need to develop our human resource, human capital. This is something which I have been highlighting in last 5 years when I was minister, that Pakistan suffers from a structural imbalance. If you look at our economic indicators, we fall close to middle income countries in terms of our per capita income in many economic indicators. But if you look at our social indicators, we fall in the category of the least developed countries. So no country can have a sustainable development path if it has a fractured socio-economic platform, where your social indicators are worst and your economic indicators are relatively better. We have to have a balanced socio-economic platform if we want to have a stable, sustained growth path, which means our social indicators must also match our economic indicators. Now, to do that, we have to invest resources. Right now, we are caught in a big economic crisis. And I would certainly indulge or request Vice President of the World Bank to put in a word to their cousin across the street that they should be a little more considerate for a country that has had a $30 billion hit for climate disaster. We are being asked to implement a contract or an agreement that was signed before $30 billion disaster. You know, if you sign any contract in the world, there is a clause for force majeure, that if there is a calamity, if there is some unforeseen circumstances, you always try to have a relook at the contract and see that how can you best incorporate or how can you best deal with the cost of this disaster or calamity. Pakistan has still fulfilled all the conditionalities of that contract which relates to pre-disaster age, and yet we are still waiting for the nod, and that brings more uncertainty in the markets, that creates more challenges for the economy. So we need to have a stable economy, we need to pursue a growth path. And let me say that when we came into government, our immediate response was that how best can we find a roadmap that will steer us out of this crisis and turn around Pakistan to a stable platform. And through a collective consultation of countries' top political, business, social leadership, civil society leadership, we had a consultation under Turnaround Pakistan Summit, and we have now developed a 5 E's framework that we feel that in next 2 to 3 years we need to pursue vigorously in order to create that stable platform from which we can have a bigger or a greater plunge into future, whether it is Vision 2047 or it is Vision 2035. Right now, we do not have that platform from where we can take that plunge. So this 5 E's platform, we hope, if we pursue it rigorously in 2 to 3 years, can give us a stable platform to take that plunge into future. The first E for us is exports. Why Pakistan is in terrible situation today? Because for 75 years we have missed a very basic lesson in development, that all the economies that developed in last 30-40 years, they adopted export-led growth path. And we stuck to the import substitution path, which someone taught us, maybe from Washington or wherever in 60s, so that remained very close to our heart, and we did not look at export as a growth strategy. So I think that is a paradigm shift we need to bring, and that also relates to our human resource development, that we need to reconfigure all our human resource development programs so that we can develop a workforce which can provide Pakistan an export-led growth economy. The second E relates to e-Pakistan. Pakistan's biggest opportunity is our youth. And the other biggest opportunity is the digital revolution that is taking place right now. And this digital revolution is creating equal opportunities for everyone, everywhere, because it makes world flat. So with a young population which has English-speaking skills, and we have relatively good infrastructure to provide education to our youth in information technology and computer sciences, in the new skills that are in currency now for a digital economy. This is the real opportunity that Pakistan has to harness for future. So therefore, we have e-Pakistan as a major intervention, not only to generate exports, not only to have more dollars in our kitty, but primarily also to empower our youth and our women. Because no country can also progress unless the share of its women in workforce is also matching the contribution by men. So IT provides a great opportunity for female population in our country to work from home. It gives them flexibility. So we are also aiming to use e-Pakistan as a means of economically empowering our female population. The third E relates to environment, because as you know, we are climatically very vulnerable. So water and food security is a big challenge. And that is the third E on which we are focusing. How do we develop response to this climate change challenge to secure water and food security? The fourth E is energy. Pakistan also faces today great challenge due to high prices of oil and gas in international markets. So we have to cut down our import bills, and we have to focus not only to save foreign exchange but also to promote renewable and green energy. So how do we make our energy affordable and also green in order to be more responsible for future? And the fourth, and again one of the most important, is how do we create equity in our society through education, health, and population control? We think that these are three very important drivers to create equity in our society. We cannot afford this new development paradigm, which is based on technology, which is very capital intensive, to create more divide in the country. So government has to take a very proactive role to make sure that we are focused on creating equity in society. We uplift the most vulnerable people, groups, and regions to mainstream them and give them requisite education, requisite health, and requisite livelihood opportunities so that they can also get benefits of the new development or progress. So education is again one of the most important elements in our human resource strategy, with health and population control. And these three, as I said, are major drivers for us to create equity. We actually conducted a study in 2016-17 with UNDP, which for the first time plotted poverty in Pakistan at district level. So we have also started a major program this year to target 20 poorest districts of Pakistan and mainstream them in next 5 to 7 years. And out of these 11 districts fall in Balochistan, 5 I think fall in interior Sindh, there are 3 are in KP and 1 in Punjab. So we are hoping that this intervention will really help us through, like as they have an affirmative action in development, to mainstream these areas, and we'll try to bridge the gap. Right now we are carrying out very comprehensive studies of these areas to determine their social, economic landscape and to identify the gaps and the drivers that can accelerate the development there. What are those critical gaps, whether it is education, it is connectivity, it is energy, what is it that can really fast track their development. In education, we are working with the provinces. As you all know, that human resource development related, most of the areas have been devolved to the provinces. But that does not mean that federal government cannot take lead and not coordinate. So we are working very actively, proactively with the provinces, and in the coming budget, we are launching some major initiatives for bringing children into school, so that we must have 100% universal primary enrollment. There is no reason why in this age any child should be without education. So we did one experiment in our previous government on an International Literacy Day. We targeted to bring 100,000 children into school in one day, and what the result was that end of the day, more than 800,000 children had showed up for enrollment. So what that showed, this is not a demand issue, it is actually a supply issue. We are not able to reach out and we are not able to accommodate. And when these children came to schools, we found that most of these schools were very crowded and they did not have enough teachers to retain these children. And after 3 months, more than half of the children's they were like dropouts. They could not be retained by the education system. So we are working very closely with the provinces how to strengthen our education coverage and bring every child into school. In last government, we also started a major initiative for national curriculum reform. Unfortunately, that got controversial during the previous government, but we are again reviving it. The idea is, it is not that you have to teach your children, you also have to see that what are you teaching them. More than 50% of the skills that we have today will be redundant in next 10 years. So the whole education experience has to be redesigned in light of the new skills that are going to emerge and that are already on the horizon. So that requires a very major restructuring of our education system, of our curriculum, of our training programs to be aligned with the new imperatives of fourth industrial revolution that already has come in. Similarly, we launched a major initiative and we are working with Education Ministry, and we have given them a blank check. I'm still waiting for proposal from them that we want to set up state-of-the-art teacher training center which can become a benchmark for teacher training programs in the country. Because if you change curriculum, you don't train your teachers in new curriculum, that means nothing. The third is examination system. You change the curriculum, you train the teachers, but if you don't change the examination system, again, it means nothing. So we are also working with Education Ministry to reform the examination system in the country. On higher education system, we have undertaken a number of reforms to increase the reach and spread of higher education system. We want each child, each young boy and girl, regardless of where he or she is, to have access to minimum higher education system. So we are now setting up a two-league system, a national league of universities, which will provide access to each and every young boy and girl who has the merit to or has the desire to achieve higher education, and then a premier league of 12, 15 universities which shall be developed to be in the top 100 universities of Asia. So this is a very mega effort that we are going to pursue over the next 5 years to revolutionize our higher education system. We have asked Higher Education Commission to train each and every student, regardless of whether he or she studies philosophy or science or literature. Every student in our university must have a course in entrepreneurship and exports, so that we give them an orientation towards job creation, not to be a job seeker, and they should all be looking towards starting their own businesses. Similarly, in higher education, we are trying to develop a critical mass of our human resource, which will then become master trainers for our education system. We have launched US-Pakistan Knowledge Corridor, in which we have offered 10,000 PhD scholarships over 10 years to brightest and the best young Pakistanis to go to US, get best education, come back and develop our education system. Recently, in this 75th Independence Anniversary, we offered 75 scholarships to our youth, to whoever is able to get admission in the top 25 universities of the world was eligible to get that PhD scholarship at government cost. So number of initiatives are in pipeline. We have already started, but as I said, the most important thing is how do we retrain our youth for the new skills, and that means moving our education system away from degree-based system to a skill-based system. And for that, we have recently set up a national task force for human development and skill development, in which we have assembled all experts from the private sector and the government, and this task force will, within 1 month, give us a roadmap that what new skills and what changes in our human resource development programs we need to pursue, so that we can keep our efforts aligned with the new emerging challenges. And I think this report is very timely, that it will provide us a lot of useful information for developing this roadmap. So I can go on, but let me stop here. And I think the fundamental challenge for us is not new knowledge. All the knowledge is known. I think the real challenge is in implementation. We all need to have that sense of urgency and sense of action, so that now it is time that we cannot further delay to ignore our human resource, because in this age and in this time, it is not the muscle power that will take any nation forward. It is the brain power that will take nations forward, and we need to truly harness the brain power of our youth and of our population. Pakistan Zindabad.